Hey everyone, in this section, let's look at exchange rate policies. We have four exchange rate policies. The first of all is the floating exchange rate. A floating exchange rate is an exchange rate system in which the exchange rate is determined by the forces of demand and supply without government intervention. Number two, we have a soft peg in which the market is initially setting up the exchange rate, but if the exchange rate seems to be moving rapidly in one direction, the central bank will intervene. Number three is a hard peg, which is an exchange rate policy in which the central bank sets a fixed and unchanging value for the exchange rate. I'm going to look at how the central bank is pegging an exchange rate. On panel A and panel B, I have the quantity of reals on the horizontal axis, which is the Brazilian currency, and I have the exchange rate for real on the vertical axis. The exchange rate is showing me 35 cents per real is the equilibrium exchange rate. So initially I'm at point E0 where the demand curve is intersecting the supply curve, and I have an exchange rate which is equal to 35 cents per 1 real. So we have two situations here. Panel A, the central bank thinks 35 cents per real is too high and they want to keep the exchange rate pegged at 30 cents per real. Panel B, they think the exchange rate of 35 cents per real is too low and they want to keep the exchange rate pegged at 40 cents per real. The reasons for this is they might want to have a lower exchange rate to boost the export industry, and over here they want to have a higher exchange rate because they want to lower aggregate demand to fight inflation. So now if I look at panel A here, when the exchange rate is pegged artificially at 30 cents per real, quantity demanded will be greater than quantity supplied. We need to fill up the gap here. The way the Brazilian government is going to fill up this gap is they are going to use Brazilian currency to buy foreign currencies. So the supply curve for Brazilian currency shifts to the right, and we have filled up the gap here and we are at point E1, and definitely the exchange rate is pegged below this equilibrium exchange rate of 35 cents per real. Now if you look at panel B here, when the exchange rate is artificially kept high at 40 cents per real, quantity supplied will be greater than quantity demanded. The way the central bank will fill up this gap is by using the foreign exchange reserves to buy back the local currency or Brazilian currency. They do it by shifting the demand curve to the right. So definitely I have this pegged currency at 40 cents per real, which is greater than the equilibrium currency of 35 cents per real. Okay, so this is all about how the central bank is filling up the gap when quantity demanded is greater than quantity supplied, when the exchange rate is kept artificially low, and when the quantity supplied is greater than quantity demanded, when the exchange rate is kept artificially high. There is another exchange rate policy which is called a merged currency. This happens when a nation chooses to use another nation's currency. One example is the economy of Ecuador that uses dollars, and they do not have any say when the Federal Reserve Bank increases or decreases interest rates. So Ecuador cannot really determine its own monetary policy. The second example is when we have a bunch of countries in the European Union using euro as the common currency. The European Central Bank in this situation determines the monetary policy, and the euro has representatives from all the nations in the European Central Bank. This really eliminates foreign exchange risk. That is the good thing, but the bad thing is a nation cannot determine its monetary policy. Okay, so these are all the foreign exchange policies which are really interesting and good to know. Thank you very much.